OMG. Wow. Amazing. So the verdict is in, because thus far it's been my personal assessment. So let me just give you the quick backstory and timeline if you haven't seen my previous videos or you're not on my e-newsletter list. So 8 months ago, I was doing some had been doing some repetitive stuff, which involved my shoulder and carrying big heavy bags, etc. But I noticed my shoulder was aggravated, started hurting. So I did some of my usual stuff. That didn't really shift it. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to be more targeted, really work on the shoulder, the surrounding areas. So I did a full month of Qigong, which is amazing, but it had absolutely zero effect. I then thought, all right, time to seek some professional help. So I went and saw my osteopath, who is absolutely fantastic. We did a series of sessions over about 3 months. Absolutely no change. If anything, it was getting worse, which was very unusual for both of us, because he was like, well, number one, normally when I go to see him, I just need a final adjustment. I've done the energy work myself, and I just go in for a final tweak, and that's the end of that. Several sessions, absolutely no improvement. So he's stumped, I've stumped. He even bought out what I call the big guns. I've been seeing him for 20 years, just over. Never seen this machine before in my life. So I'm in the room and he wheels this thing in and says, don't know what's going on, but let's give it, if you want, some shock treatment. So he did some electric shock treatment. Let me just show you that as well. So that's my shoulder, because you put these electric cups on the shoulder. They deliver the electric shock. So what you can see is there are a series of these cups placed around the shoulder and the arm, but what you can see is one of the cups that was placed on the arm to deliver the electric shock. That weird shape actually stays there for several days. But even doing that, again, felt a bit of relief in the moment, but next day, back to square one, nothing had worked. So we both independently came to the conclusion that I might want to look at the medical side of things, just see what's going on. So I decided then I would go and see my GP. They said, sounds like frozen shoulder, but recommend I get an x-ray. So I did the x-ray. A couple of weeks later, got the results, was not happy about what that came back saying. And no offense to people who are a little bit older than me, but I'm like, I had something that I would think somebody in their 80s or 90s would get. They came back and said it was osteoarthritis. I'm like, whoa, good job I'm sitting down. Then they said need some physio, and it will be 12 to 18 months of physio. I'm like, and I'd have to go to the gym and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, oh, really? Now this coincided with Dr. Margot. Some of you may know her. We've done some webinars together, but this coincided with Dr. Margot pestering me to look at something called block therapy. Never heard of it. It's when she kept saying, have you looked at the thing about block? Have you looked at the blocks? I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And she'd message me, she'd email me, all sorts of stuff. So finally decided to take a look, was lucky enough through Dr. Margot to be introduced to Deanna Hansen, the creator of Fluid, well, she's the creator of block therapy, CEO of Fluid Isometrics. We did a private one-to-one, just, well, 1 to 3, the three of us did a Zoom, then sort of said, hey, this sounds amazing. And she showed me, sent me the website, showed me some of the results that she had in terms of people taking before and after pictures. She immediately said to me, I will be honest with you, advice which I did not heed. She said, take a photo before you start whatever you're going to be doing. I just didn't even really think about it, because at that point, I mean, it would have been a very excited photo. It would have been me with my arm like this, because that's as high as I could raise it compared to the other one, which could go all the way up. But I didn't take any photos because it was just like, whatever. Let me do the thing, see how it works. So these were some of the results, for other people. I found out my blocks arrived on the 9th of May this year. I got the diagnosis, I think, a couple of days before. So I decided, you know what, nothing else has worked so far, nothing to lose, everything to gain. I'm going to now do this block therapy program. Number one, just curious to see what happens. But number two, I wonder if it could impact the shoulder. Now, I will be honest, for the first 20 days, because there's a what they call a sampler program that you can do for 9 days. So that was offered as a free gift, because it's a paid program. That was offered as a free gift to everyone on my e-newsletter. And then there's what you call the starter program. So when you get the blocks, you get the starter program. So I did the sampler, did the starter, and I'm just going through everything, just following the program. It's all online. Wasn't necessarily thinking about my shoulder at that point, because osteoarthritis does sound very final, and I've got to do my 18 months of physio and da. So that wasn't really top of mind for me. I was just interested to see, what would I notice? Would I feel any different, etc.? And I thought, you know what, not doing myself any harm. It feels like a nice thing to do for the body. So that was my starting point and premise. On day number 20, so the day before, we did a live webinar with myself, Deanna, Dr. Margot, and invited people from my e-newsletter list. I was in bed on the Sunday, and this was after the, so this would have been the 30th. So on the 29th of May, we did the first one on the 11th. So on the 29th of May, I was in bed. At this point, I've been blocking for 20 days. And the little voice in my head, the one that I listened to, says, get out of bed, sit on the floor and cross your legs. A very specific request. I'm like, what? Because I'm sitting watching an episode of Columbo. It's a Sunday evening. So I get out of bed thinking this is just weird, but okay. So I get out of bed, I sit on the floor, I cross my legs. And then I realize I'm actually crossing my legs. Now, that might not seem like a big deal, but it's been nearly 30 years since I've been able to cross my legs, because I had various ankle injuries, mainly in the right ankle. Damaged it really badly several times, right from childhood, right through until the last injury I had was 2015. And the first one, I'm too young to remember. I was probably, I don't know, 9, 10 years old, something like that, when the problem first started, which then created an instability, yada, yada, yada. So I've not been able to cross my legs for nearly 30 years. And I realized that with the blocking exercises that I've been doing, because there were some for calves, ankles, etc., one for feet where you're actually standing on the block, suddenly the what I call the lateral movement in the ankle is back. I can cross my legs for the first time. I was like, oh my God. So that was amazing. So after that happened, I then was thinking, I wonder if this would do something for my shoulder. So when the official diagnosis came in about osteoarthritis, which was a couple of days before the second webinar, I was like, okay, I've seen what it can do for my ankle, and I really wasn't even focusing on that. It's just a lovely byproduct. Let me now really focus on doing some extra work around the, and you don't just work on the pain site, because as you'll know, if you do body work, you can have a problem in your right calf that causes a problem in your left shoulder, for example. That's just a random example. I'm not saying that's how it has to be linked, but you get my gist. So you're working the whole body, but in the evenings when I was relaxing, watching TV, I do some extra shoulder work, in terms of just means resting on the blocks. Actually, let me show you the blocks. So I keep saying the blocks are blocks. Let me show you what they look like. So I did that. A couple of weeks ago, I was at the park. Now, when this first happened with my shoulder, we had that nice hot heat wave spell in May. I was at the park and I went to relax back on the park, and it was like, ow, I could do it with this right arm. I couldn't get my left arm on the back of the bench to recline back. So I'm like, whoa, that's a bit weird. Also, when I was at ballet class, there's a lot that you do with the arms up above the head. I had to keep the left arm down because it looks silly. Just, it's meant to be up here. It looks silly me doing this. So I'm like, don't even bother, Marilyn, just keep it down at your side. And I noticed again a few weeks ago, back at ballet class, and pretty much there with all of the movements that I wanted to do, and no pain. Because there was one point, when would that have been? That probably would have been around February time. I actually cried at ballet class, because we went to do a kind of a sideways move, and again, wasn't really thinking about my shoulder, and did the move. It felt like somebody had rammed a hot poker in there. And it's either I'm going to swear in this class and say some expletives, or I'm going to burst into tears. I went for the latter because I thought, don't want to offend everyone. I went for the latter. I just burst into tears and like, you all right? I'm like, yeah, it just really hurts. So that's how bad it was. And last couple of weeks, I was back at the park when we had that first 39-degree day, reclined on the bench. Was about 20 minutes in, I was like, hold on a minute, I'm reclining on the bench. This is so cool. Could also do simple things like put my hands on my waist. Couldn't do that before. No problems putting on a shirt or a jacket. That became, as my friend Gina would say, a 3-act opera previously. And one of the tests that both the osteo did and the physio is they ask you to put your arm behind your back. You know, somebody was kind of twisting your arm. Previously, I could barely even get that motion going. No way. Let me show you. So this, I could get to about there. No way that I could get it all the way back. Excuse me. One sec. Let me grab my water. I'll grab the blocks as well. Right. I'm back. Right. So let me show you. So this is what you call the baby block. Comes in this lovely little pouch for traveling. And basically all I've been doing is lying or resting on the block. Now, there are some things that you're doing as well. You're doing the diaphragmatic breathing. There's a set amount of time that you're on the block, 3 minutes per position. But it's about the fascia release. It's also about the diaphragmatic breathing. Then you can bring in what they call the fluid isometrics if you want to as well. We're using the hands as also, but that's the block. Today went back to my osteopath because I wanted him to see this for himself, because I was, and in my mind, I'm like, I think I'm a good 70 to 80% there. That was my assessment. So had my osteopath session today, did the thing where, you know, can you put your arm behind your back? Yes, I can. And all of that. Can you raise your arm? Because previously I could get to about there and then that was it. And I could just see, I could actually physically see everything that we lock up. And even to put deodorant on was, again, this kind of, you know, seriously, I could have been trying out for Cirque du Soleil. That's how contorted sometimes you had to be. So I said, yeah, I can now raise my arm. I can put it behind my back. Wonderful. So again, he does the physical manipulations as well, so he can feel what's going on inside the joint, inside the muscle. Some of the things that he said included much less information, much more fluid, much more movement, much less resistant. There's some sort of junction of muscles in the back of the in your back as well. He said, again, fluidity of movement, freedom of movement, so much improved. And his words were, you're 70 to 80% there. And that's exactly what I had thought myself. So absolutely amazing. Those of you who are on my e-newsletter list, you all already know that if you don't have the blocks to begin with, you can actually start with a rolled up towel. And one of the, because we ran 2 webinars, one in the beginning of May, second week of May, and one on the 30th of May, because what we wanted to do the intro, gift everyone who wanted to take part the starter, the sampler program, they call it. So they just used a rolled up towel. They didn't even have the blocks, and then have them come and report back on the 30th of May. There was someone who couldn't make it on the 30th, but she sent me an email and she said, Marilyn, just after doing a couple of days, some old stiffness and creakiness and pains that I've had in my back, that I've had in my joints, disappeared. Now, I went back to her to clarify. I said, number one, do you mind if I ask your age? She was, I think it was 50s/60s. I said, also, were you using the blocks or were you using just a towel? She says, no, I don't have the blocks. I've just been using the rolled up towel. Can you imagine that kind of change from using a rolled up towel? Something that you've had for years bugging you, a bit like me and my ankle, just resolved and sorted. So my assessment, I did a little video last week just kind of telling you how I've been getting on, because I said I'd do some updates. But to actually now have been to the osteopath, where he's doing the physical manipulation of the joints, the muscles, you know, block therapy is all centers around fascia release. So we had a real good discussion around that as well, in terms of the kind of the living, breathing fascia. He showed me a really interesting video about someone who they in operations, they had volunteered to have a camera, you know, those little pinhole cameras. So they were filming the fascia in motion as this person was having an operation done, which was just fascinating. So we watched that at my osteopath today, because he was very interested to see what's going on, have a look, etc. But yeah, to have that confirmed, so it's not just, of course I know it's not my imagination, I know that I couldn't put my arm up or put it behind my back, etc., or recline back. I know that to be true. And it's still really nice where someone, where that's their job, that's their area of expertise, will come back and confirm that as well, in terms of what's actually going on inside of the joint, inside of the muscle. So just thought I would share that one with you. I will add this video to the blog, where I've also shared some of those case studies. There are bigger photographs if you wanted to see that more clearly as well. I shall keep you updated. I was saying to my osteopath today, look, given that it's been 14 weeks and not 12 to 18 months, if I did a Jack Nicholson and this was as good as it gets, I'm like, I'm cool with that, because I'm pretty much back to normal now. Of course, I'm going to continue blocking. And we did a live session with Deanna today. She does a monthly group call where she'll answer questions, etc. And you can say, I'm like working on this, or I've got this pain here, what do you recommend, yada, yada. And I did confess, I said, look, I'm a bit of a naughty blocker, because the majority of what I've done has been while I've been lying in bed watching a movie, because that's where I have the most quote unquote free time. And so that's what I've been doing. A lot of it has just been lying in bed. And there is actually a video when you do when you get the when you get your sampler, there's a video about blocking around the house. And it actually I've got the picture here. Let me show you, just because people think I'm pulling their leg. I'm like, no, I'm not. This is the real deal. This is Deanna Hansen, the creator of the block therapy. And that's Deanna demonstrating how you block in bed. So when I saw that, I'm like, yeah, baby, something I can do for the good of my body whilst lying in bed watching a movie or watching Netflix. How does it get any better than that, as they would say in Access Consciousness? So yeah, very, 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 very cool. Somebody had asked me, because this is what you call the baby block. So this is a small size, but there's a bigger one. It's upstairs. I'm not going to run and get that as well. My suggestion is if you can get both, because there are some spaces, like, for example, when you're blocking, because a lot of it centers around, you're blocking always start with the belly position. You'll know that if you've done the sampler or the starter. Doing a lot with the ribs. There's also one where you're doing it in that space in terms of between the ribs and the hip bone. And so the block gets placed there. You have to have it on the semi-high side if you've got the what you call the block buddy, the larger one. I find the block baby, and of course it depends on the size of your joints and your muscles, but I find the block baby works better for that. The block baby for me personally is a much better fit when I'm putting it there and just kind of resting back, using it like a wooden pillow. So again, this is a much better fit for me than the block buddy. There are times, however, don't let the baby block name fool you, because there are times where it's pretty aggressive, like when you're lying and doing down the front of the thighs, for example. Because there's less surface area on this one, it gets deeper into the muscles, into the fascia in some of those positions. So when they first said the baby block, it sounded all cutesy. I'm like, no. Don't, as Tyra Banks would say, don't get it twisted. This one is actually quite intense as well in various positions. But you got the option to get one block or get them as a pair. My suggestion, if you can, get the pair, because when you come to do things like the double blocking exercises, which are pretty cool, it means you've got both of them. You got the flexibility of size. Like when I was going to take the block to show my osteopath today, rather than taking the big one, I like, this one just fits in the handbag. And to the point where when I said, I bought the block, do you want to see it? And I'm like, I'm rummaging around in my bag. I can't even find it. My bag is so big. But yeah, so this is a nice travel size. So when I'm going to the park, for example, I take this along and I use it like a wooden pillow, put it under the back of the neck. If I'm writing something or doing a quick sort of social media update. So I would say, look, if you have the capacity, get both of the blocks, the block buddy and the block baby, but you can just get the one or none and just use your rolled up towel. So if you would like to do the free gift, I've put the link in the bottom. It's going along there, www.bit.ly/block therapy gift, GIFT. If you want to get the block therapy blocks, bit.ly/block therapy blocks. So those are going along the ticker tape. But seriously, and I was saying to Deanna today, what's your take on how do you, because I've had people go, oh, well, I've done this, or I do that, or I use this, like, and I'm like, many of the things, I'm not even have I done them, I'm trained in them. I'm like, dude, let me just tell you, those modalities are amazing, not a patch on this in terms of what I was working on. And I'm not going to name any modalities because it's not fair. And it's not like my modality is better than your modality. It's like everything has its place. So I will be honest with you, I was a little bit wary of talking to my osteopath about it. So I had to be careful not to frame it in terms of, well, osteopathy doesn't work. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying on this particular occasion, there was something that has done a better job for the task in hand. It's a bit like if you've got a hammer, that's going to be amazing for several jobs. And there'll be some things you need a screwdriver. We're not dissing the hammer. We're just saying on this occasion, the hammer is not the thing that's required. We need this other tool over here. It's exactly that. But for those of you who have been suffering with joint pain, muscle pain, back pain, and let me just say, make a disclaimer, I'm not making any medical claims or anything like that, not recommending you do anything, do your own due diligence, do your own research. There's a lot of it out there, and there are a gazillion case studies in terms of block therapy. If you're in the block therapy Facebook group, there's several thousand people in that group, many of whom have shared testimonials on a regular basis, and you can go back into a search as well, which is where some of those photographs, I've seen some of those photographs that I showed earlier. Now, these ones, I went back to Deanna and said, rather than just go and take stuff from the group, because it's a private group, if once you've done the starter program, you're invited to the sampler program, you're invited to join. So I just went back to Deanna and said, can you send me some photographs of people who are happy to share their results? So these are the ones that she sent me, but you'll meet many of these people are in the block therapy group as well. So it's not about, oh my God, this is the best therapy and everything else has got to get thrown in the bin. No, it's just saying on this occasion, with things that I've been working on for nearly 30 years, this is the one that made a difference within days. And with this recent prognosis and the 12 to 18 months of physio, this is the thing that has made a difference for me in the space of 14 weeks. So what can I say? What can I say? Just over 3 months. This is where we are. I'm a very happy bunny. I'm just like, whoa. And now I'm like, should I take, again, they wouldn't have been really exciting photos, but just me sort of doing that. Could have put a grimace on, I suppose. And again, with the crossing of the legs, it didn't even occur to me that that was even possible. I just got used to. That's just not something my body does. So I didn't even think to take photos of that, even though Deanna kept saying, take photos of everything before you start. And I was like, yeah. But I was thinking more of the people with scoliosis, for example, or the people who have the hump in the neck. That's more obvious. So these things weren't obvious to me at the time. And I wasn't even thinking it was going to be a thing that would change in any dramatic way. So unfortunately, no before and after photos, but you have me to tell you the before and after story. So do the 9-day free sampler program and report back. Let me know how you get on. They're all video programs, so it's all online. All of the videos are sequential to start you off, and eventually, even with the 9-day sampler, which are shorter, 15 to 30-minute video classes typically for that one, you're gradually working your way through the whole body, because it's not just got a problem with a shoulder, as I said earlier, do the shoulder, you do the whole body. But yeah, do the sampler. Let me know how you get on, and please report back. I'd be really interested to know how you get on. And yeah, if you get the blocks, if you do get the blocks, let me know. And I will send you the session that I did again for the people who joined me for Deanna's webinar. I did a HUNA session, a HUNA energy session, where we worked through the body in terms of the chakras, placing the block in various positions, and then we did some HUNA energy clearing work. Because one of the things that people have found in doing block therapy is that they have emotional releases as well when releasing the fascia, because as you'll know, if you do anything in terms of the mind-body connection, you can store your emotions in the body, in the muscles, in the joints, etc. So people have often had an emotional release and trauma release. It's very gentle compared to doing traditional therapy, talk therapy, that sort of thing, but nonetheless it's a really nice way to release it out of the body. So I did a HUNA energy process for that. So if you do purchase a blocks, let me know, I'll send you the link to that, and then you can do your blocking and we have I have a video where I show Deanna doing the position, then we do the HUNA energy clearing, move on to the next. So I'll send you the link for that if you'd like to do the trauma and healing HUNA release as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you've got questions or queries, drop me an email. It's Marilyn, Marilyn @transformationstm.com. That's TRANCE, F for Freddie, so FORMATIONSTM is in trademark, Marilyn @transformationstm.com. But get yourself the free gift starter program. Let me know how you get on, and if you get your blocks, I'll send you the HUNA clearing as well. Cool, catch you later. And feel free to share this if you know someone who is struggling and has been maybe for several decades. This could be the thing that starts to release for them. So do feel free to share the link. Catch you later. Bye-bye.